All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're heading to the heart of the nation, Washington, D.C.
Yeah, DC.
We're going to be exploring using some audio excerpts
Yeah.
from Capitol Conversations, discovering Washington, D.C.,
Okay.
as well as a podcast script
Uh-huh.
with a similar title, Discovering Washington, D.C. Beyond the Monuments.
Nice.
And the goal here is to kind of extract like the most interesting and useful uh, nuggets of information, whether you're planning a trip
Right.
or maybe you're a local and you want to kind of explore
Yeah.
deeper,
Yeah,
or you're just curious about the nation's capital.
for sure.
We're going to give you a well-rounded perspective on this amazing city.
Exactly. And from these materials, we've really pulled out some highlights about DC,
Right.
thinking about its history, its landmarks, some hidden gems that you might not know about,
I love that.
some great food recommendations, even some fun facts.
Fun facts are the best.
So if you've ever been curious about what gives DC its unique character, beyond just those big monuments, stick around.
So let's start with those big monuments.
Yeah.
You picture D.C., you think of the National Mall. It's kind of the central hub connecting so much history.
Absolutely. I mean, you could spend a whole day exploring the mall
Easy.
easily. And just think about it. The Lincoln Memorial,
Right.
the Washington Monument,
Yeah.
the U.S. Capitol building,
Yep.
all within walking distance.
And they're so impressive. And speaking of the Washington Monument,
Yeah.
did you know it was actually the tallest structure in the world for a time?
Oh, really?
Yeah, until the Eiffel Tower came along in 1889.
Wow, that's pretty wild.
That's a fun fact for you.
I like it.
And that scale, that impressive size that you get on the National Mall, it's actually preserved because D.C. has those height restrictions.
Oh, right, right.
So no building can be taller than the Capitol building.
And that was intentional.
Oh, yeah, it's deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to the city's early planning
Okay.
by a guy named L'Enfant. And the idea was to ensure that those federal buildings, the Capitol and others,
Right.
they remain dominant visually.
They wanted them to stand out.
So it's a really interesting element of the city's design. And then you have, of course, the Smithsonian museums.
Yeah, those are amazing.
They're free, which is just mind-blowing.
It's incredible. You could spend weeks there.
You really could. And there are a couple that really stand out.
Like what?
The National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Oh, yeah. Power.
Incredibly powerful, impactful. And then you have the Air and Space Museum.
Oh, a classic.
That's legendary. It sparks curiosity for generations.
for sure.
So those are the big must-sees. But what about when you want to get away from the crowds,
Yeah, go off the beaten path.
What are
Paul.
some of those more local, lesser-known spots?
Well, one of our sources suggests checking out Blagden Alley, which is in the Shaw neighborhood.
Okay, Blagden now.
And it's tucked away.
Yep.
It's full of these vibrant murals, coffee shops, and there's this speakeasy called the Columbia Room.
Oh, I love a good speakeasy.
Yeah, they're fun. And actually, another one that came up was the Gibson on 14th Street,
Okay.
which is known for its creative craft cocktails.
Oh, fun.
So, it's a little bit of a different vibe.
Right. And if you want some nature, we have to mention Theodore Roosevelt Island.
Yes, that's a great escape. It's right on the Potomac River. You can hike. There's a memorial to President Roosevelt.
Perfect.
It's really peaceful.
Nice. And then there's Meridian Hill Park. Have you heard about the Sunday drum circles there?
Yeah, it's quite the scene, right?
It's supposed to be amazing, full of artists, dancers, great energy.
You really get a feel for the local culture there.
Absolutely. Oh, all this exploring is making me hungry.
Me too.
Let's talk food.
All right, what are we eating?
You cannot go to D.C. without trying a half smoke from Ben's Chili Bowl.
Half smoke. What's that?
It's a D.C. staple. It's like a spicy hot dog, usually beef and pork, and then they pile on chili, mustard, onions.
Oh, man, that sounds good.
Oh, it's the quintessential D.C. food experience.
Okay, noted. Now, what about brunch? Any good spots for brunch?
Le Diplomat on 14th Street.
Okay.
It's got this fantastic French ambiance, great cocktails.
Oh la la.
And then for something a little different, there's Oohs and Ahs for soul food.
Soul food, nice.
Yeah, really delicious, comforting food.
Okay, that sounds great.
And then for sheer variety, you have to go to Union Market.
Union Market, I've heard of that.
It's got everything. Oysters, international street food. It's a real melting pot.
Sounds like a foodie's paradise.
It is. All right, so we've talked history, we've talked food.
Yeah.
What about some fun, quirky D.C. facts?
All right, hit me with it.
Did you know there's a tiny, house-sized museum dedicated entirely to spies.
No way.
The International Spy Museum. You can even test your spy skills there.
That's so D.C.
I know, right? And here's another one. The White House wasn't always white.
What?
It was originally gray.
Huh.
But after the British burned it down in 1814, they painted it white to cover the damage.
Oh, interesting. I never knew that.
And then there's this, get this, a hidden catacomb under St. Francis Monastery.
Whoa, a catacomb.
You can even take a tour of it.
Spooky.
A little spooky, but very cool. So, if you're planning a trip, when's the best time to go?
Well, spring is obviously beautiful with the cherry blossom season.
Yeah, those cherry blossoms are iconic.
It's really spectacular when they're all in bloom around the tidal basin.
Totally.
And there are lots of festivals and events going on then.
What about summer?
Summer is great for outdoor stuff. There's jazz in the garden at the National Gallery of Art.
Oh, nice.
And tons of rooftop bars with amazing city views.
I love rooftop bars.
You can't beat those views.
Especially in D.C. And what about fall?
You know, fall is actually a really underrated time to visit.
Okay, why?
Well, the weather's crisp and comfortable. There are fewer tourists.
Less crowded.
Exactly. And there's still lots of festivals and cultural events going on.
So really, there's no bad time to go to D.C.
Exactly. It just depends what you're looking for.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Washington, D.C., what's clear is that it's so much more than just monuments and government buildings.
Right. There's a whole other side to it.
We've explored its history, its unique neighborhoods, its diverse food scene, even some of its quirky secrets.
It's a city with layers, for sure.
It is. From those powerful landmarks that tell the story of the nation, to those local favorites that give you a taste of everyday D.C. life, it's a blend of experiences.
It really is. There's something for everyone.
So thinking about all we've discussed, the grand monuments, those intimate neighborhood experiences, the hidden gems, what defines the spirit of D.C. for you?
That's a good question.
Is it the history, the culture, something else entirely?
It's hard to say.
It's definitely something to consider as you reflect on this deep dive into the nation's capital.
Absolutely. D.C. is a city that stays with you.
It really is. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.
See ya.